everyone, and welcome to another episode of From No Crypto to No Crypto. I'm your host, the Crypto Coach, Blockchain Wayne. Today, we're joined by Maria. Maria is the founder of Interstellar Digital and also a partner at Web3 Advisory. Maria, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Wayne. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you, to talk to you. I see you at a lot of conferences, so it's
Yeah,
great.
definitely. We get a chance to talk a little bit at conferences, see you everywhere, but I'm really looking forward to this and then diving into more about what you do, your background, and really just your experience since being in the industry. But before we jump into all of that, can you tell us a little bit about your background, maybe what you've done, and if you've done anything prior to crypto and Web3?
Actually, when I was a freshman at the university, I was like, I want to be a journalist. So I was interning with GQ magazine. If you know that magazine, it's like Gentleman Quarterly. It's kind of like a lifestyle magazine for men, and it's kind of big in the US as well. And then I was interning with Inc. magazine, Inc.com. It's also kind of relatively famous magazine, especially in tech, because they write a lot about enterprises and startups and the founders and stuff like that. But then I quickly realized that probably I don't want to build career as a journalist, and I was like, but I was still an undergrad student, so I had a lot of time. And then my classmate in the university, that was back in Moscow, Russia. That's why I have a Russian accent. And I was actually interning with like Russian branches of those magazines, but still, back then it was like part of one big chain globally. And yeah, like my classmate in the university, he started to host meetups about what is Bitcoin, what is Ethereum, how to trade crypto, what is blockchain. I started to go just because I liked him and I thought he's a cool guy and he was my friend for years. And then before I knew it, my whole adult career ended up in the blockchain space. He started to host meetups, I think, in like 2015. In 2016, I started to work in the industry more or less like full time, and actually because I had a connections in the media already, because I literally worked I was an intern, but still I worked in the media before. Some startups would ask me for help with PR, and then I was employed at ICO Lab. That was a venture capital fund focused on crypto, and back in 2016 2017, that's how we called the token generation event. Was the initial coin offering. Every cycle we have different names.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I landed my first job as a head of PR at ICO Lab Venture Fund. I was super proud of myself because I was like, I don't know, like 21 already, like a head of PR, because they were like very few people familiar with what crypto is and like how the market works back then. So they didn't mind hiring 21 years old, just like fresh out of the university, because like the more senior people they talked to, they had no clue about crypto.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how it was. And back then I remember I convinced that fund to sponsor an event with Vitalik, the founder of Ethereum, in Moscow. And at first they were like, why do we spend $300,000 again? And I was like, because guys, we are literally backing the projects who do ICOs. And back then, most of ICOs, they were on Ethereum blockchain. I was like, that's the
Yeah.
Ethereum founder. We should definitely like sponsor an event and invite him. And they did. And that's how I met Vitalik for the first time.
Oh, nice, interesting stuff. So you got your start back there, and so what was the crypto and blockchain scene like when you were in Moscow? Like, was there? You mentioned meetups and stuff. Were there a lot of people going to those, or how was the interest?
I think when my classmate Vasily Vaisa, when he just started, it was like maybe about like 20, 30 people at each meetup. And I think by the end of like 2016, beginning of 2017, that was like hundreds of people. And he even negotiated with one of the co-working spaces. I'm not sure, probably it was WeWork, because we had a lot of WeWork co-working spaces in Moscow. So he negotiated with one of the less popular WeWork spots to host meetups there, and like the room was packed. Like I think it was like at that point it was like hundreds of people, and but still, like when I told people that like, oh, I work in that industry, I work for a venture capital fund baking the projects, and they're like, oh, so you're like buying Bitcoin with your fund? What exactly? Do you guys do? And I was like, no, we're not a hedge fund. We back the startups, and they can build, like most of them back then they built on Ethereum. So I was like, no, it's actually Ethereum blockchain mostly. And yeah, people are like, huh, what's Ethereum? Who's Vitalik? So yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah, so
yeah, definitely more well known today, right?
yeah, yeah, but like you had these T-shirts at Miami conference. Like my mom thinks I work for Bitcoin.
Yeah,
That's most of people that I meet, like in different parts of the world, they still think that I work for Bitcoin,
yeah,
which I guess, like, if we like drive mass adoption, probably Bitcoin price will be even higher. So maybe in the end, we all work for
yeah.
Bitcoin.
No, no CEO, no anything else, but yeah, we're all working for it. It's funny enough, that was the most popular shirt at that conference, and then so I reprinted them. We went to Web3 Amsterdam a little over a week and a half ago, and those same thing. And that was the first one to go because we get it. Like people that don't understand what we do, we all do something different in the industry, but they all just think, oh, you just work for Bitcoin or you work at Bitcoin. It's
Yeah, which is hilarious. Like no one knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is. Bitcoin blockchain is like the only blockchain that do not have like any official foundation or whatever team members. But yeah, everybody thinks that we work for Bitcoin.
yeah. Yeah, well, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, I hear that often. And really, you compare it, right? There's really Bitcoin where Satoshi, whoever it was, right, walked away from the project, and many people feel that was an important step. So, no one person, even if the network is decentralized, if you have one person that has influence over the decisions that are made, it could alter the decentralization of it, right? So how do you feel about that compared to say like Ethereum and others, where there's always like this face of a project, right? There's Vitalik, Cardano has like Charles Hoskinson, and everyone has their different leaders. Do you think more should do that, or do you think it's important to have that figurehead around?
Well, so like people should understand that I'm PR and marketing person, and when you do PR, it's kind of easy to build a brand around one person.
Right. True.
Well, maybe not that easy, but like, you just choose the
Yeah.
spokesman of the company. Usually it's a founder. And then you pitch him to speak at all the conferences. You just organize a lot of interviews. You make like public appearances for him. And then, like, that's how you lift off the brand of the company itself. It's far more complicated to get the brand of the company out by itself, by like just explaining people how great the product is,
Right.
and how well the company works, and how it makes the world a better place, how we solve a lot of problems, how we have like this breakthrough technology, and etc. So yeah, like I understand why a lot of companies, brands just build around one founder. And also I feel like a lot of founders, they have like such a big ego that they kind of prefer it that way, especially when they raise money from the venture capital funds, or they have like a token generation event, and then they like kind of like fundraise from the crowd. and if it's successful, they kind of like, oh my god, I'm a god, I'm super awesome. And like, for example, no offense to Tron blockchain, I love to use USDT on Tron. I have some Tron as well. But
Yeah,
Justin Sun, he asks his employees to call him His Excellency,
I didn't know.
and he literally had like what, like 3, 5 CoinDesk editors fired because they made fun of him, because he bought this banana for $6 million and then invited journalists to watch him eating this banana, and they were just like, the man has enormous ego, and then he just lost it and like reached out to Bullish that owned Cointelegraph, and he was like, fire those bastards, and people were fired, which is crazy because we should have independent journalism. But
Right.
yes, some founders, they want to be out there, they just want to be the face of the company, and nothing wrong with that. It makes the job of public relations department and the CMO way easier, honestly. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I was.
I feel like you should still stay humble a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. I was not aware of the whole story behind him getting upset about them making fun of him and getting
Well,
fired. That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you should have independent journalism, right? I mean, and that's really what's missing in so many places today is scripted media instead of real, like investigative journalists. Investigative journalism really, I think, has kind of tapered off a lot, and it's um, you don't really
yeah,
see it as much.
yeah, absolutely. I just want to say that I'm not exactly sure how the story went. I think I read about this on like Fortune and Axios
Uh-huh.
media, so I rely on their sources and that. I'm not sure. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the room with Justin Sun and his banana, so
Yeah.
maybe it's not him. Justin Sun, do not try to kill me, please. I have nothing against you.
Funny enough, I had actually joked. I'm kind of glad I didn't, but I guess I'll share the story. So, and for those that are listening, right, the him eating a banana for what was it, 6 million? You said,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a piece of art supposedly, and it was just a banana duct taped to a wall. And Justin's son bought it and then ate the banana, and that. So you can kind of see. I mean, I can definitely see it's open for jokes and everything else. As soon as people see that, right? Because it can seem a bit absurd. But what I wanted to do was create like a parody cartoon of that, to where instead of Justin Sun walking up to that while buying that art and eating the banana that was duct taped to the wall, have like a banana with legs and arms and eyes walk up and have Justin Sun taped to the wall, right? The flip everything around. That's what I wanted to do, but I never got around to really
You
doing.
should. That's so Rick and Morty. Do you know Rick and Morty is a
Yeah,
show?
absolutely. That's kind of some of the inspiration I got from that was just thinking about that and that
Oh
kind of.
my god, do it. Sell the NFTs. I
Yeah,
will be your investor.
yeah. I actually, yeah, create a short video of it in reverse where Justin Sun's taped to the wall and mint those and sell like a limited edition of them. So we'll see. Maybe I can price them high enough to where maybe he may buy them and burn them all just so they don't get out there. That would be something, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So, you also mentioned when we were just talking, something you brought up, which is important for people to realize. Terminology in the industry changes over time, right? We see that happen where we don't really say ICO anymore. Now it's TGE, token generation event, you mentioned as well, which could be anything from a sale to an airdrop to however they plan to distribute the tokens. And what was it, just a couple of years ago? Almost everything was launching through IDO, the
Yes.
initial DEX offering, right? So
Yeah.
that change, and I think that's important because people from outside the industry, we say all these terms, they don't really know what it means, right? And it's important to stay plugged in and keep abreast of those. I mean, hell, remember what we used to call them, influencers, and what do we call them now? Uh,
KOLs?
KOLs, right? Yeah, I was drawing a blank for a second. Yeah, KOLs, right? Key opinion leaders. Uh,
Yeah. I think KOLs came to us from Asia. because someone told me that. I'm not sure that they started to call them that in Asia, but yeah. Also, like people who worked in DeFi, oh, sorry, not DeFi, TradFi before in traditional finance, like Wall Street people, I don't know, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan people,
Mhm.
or people from the banks, when they come to the industry, they like, you guys invented like new terms for everything we already named before. Like, why?
Yeah,
So, yeah. So we call it staking instead of like dividends or whatever. Like, I mean, someone maybe ChatGPT. Maybe I'll ask ChatGPT to pair like TradFi terms with like DeFi terms, and then
that's
I make a Twitter post about it. I
that's
don't even know.
that's a good idea. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, just to see. I've seen some analogies of different things, Web 2 to Web 3, but I don't know if I've seen it in that context. Maybe it was more not TradFi to DeFi, but it was more Web 2 to Web 3. I think is what I saw. So that would be a good thing to try for that. When we think of everything like changing names and changing acronyms, the one I'd love to see like change is NFT, right? Because I love the concept of what an NFT is and what it can do, but too many people think that an NFT is just, a JPEG, a cartoon JPEG on a blockchain.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And people do not realize that it's just a technology. It's like non-fungible token,
Hmm.
and it can be used for identity verification, for example, or to track things for logistics or whatever. Like there are many use cases, but like the most popular use case is to verify digital art, and that's why people think that those are only JPEGs on blockchain. That's what NFTs are.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much behind it, but I think we do have to get out of that calling and just because you're right. NFT is just the technology that's used, right? It should be like an on chain or digital membership or on chain or digital um, title or whatever it's actually doing. Right? There's different kinds. There is art, but there's also um, it could be a real world asset or something. And I think we're going to see a lot of them that represent ownership of a physical good is going to be called RWA in the future instead, which could be actually represented by a fungible or non fungible token. But I could see like with it being them being unique, it could be like a non fungible token.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see that like um, there are a lot of terms in that sector as well, like such as PFPs, for example, which are like NFTs who are that are used as profile pictures, like Bored Apes or whatever, CryptoPunks. And I don't know, they have like this Bitcoin NFTs, which they call them runes and ordinals. And like, if you call an ordinal an NFT, like some people get really upset, and so yeah, it's like the whole industry itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we're still defining all of that. So it's very fluid. Funny enough is in 2018, I put out a little beginner's guide on Amazon about, the basics of crypto. And I stopped, I actually pulled it from the market a couple of years ago because it seems like every 6 to 12 months, I was having to go in and change a bunch of stuff, whether it was wallets that were no longer around or change names or exchanges that were no longer around or change names. The terminology we use changed. So yeah, I definitely felt that pain. I got tired of redoing it all the time. So all right, that's enough. I'm done with this. Move on to something else.
But that's so cool. You wrote a book. Congrats. I didn't even know. Wow.
Yeah, it actually led to the podcast. So the book was called From No Crypto to No Crypto, so from NO to KNOW. And then
Awesome.
after the book was out for a while, I was like, let me start doing a podcast to kind of, promote it. But I think there's so many great digital courses out there, digital downloads. Like people can go through that. Not saying that books aren't important, because actually this weekend I was at a small conference where I was teaching people about crypto and blockchain, and I had multiple people ask me, tell me that I should reconsider and go in and update my book, and it's just and it wasn't a long book. I mean, it was like 50 pages, but it was the basics of what people to know need to know to understand in terms of wallets and security and just what is Bitcoin and what is the rest of crypto with altcoins, um, and also what is trading and how does trading work. And of course, I think now my views have changed over the years too, because I used to give some tips on trading, and now it's like I realize most people aren't cut out for trading. Most people, if they want to get involved in this, they need to pick something they love, like, hey, say it's Bitcoin, right, and just accumulate it over time, and not stress over trying to trade the market, because you definitely sleep better when you're not trying to trade.
No, absolutely. Like, tell me about it. I also like, because I guess I'm old. Like, I've been on the market. I've been in the industry for like a long time, so I'm used to like buy and hold. And when the meme coin market came, I'm like so not used that like you should buy and sell in like 10 minutes
Yeah,
or like 15 minutes. Like, it's basically like I don't know, short frequency trading.
very much.
That I'm like, I lost a lot of money, and I'm like still like, oh, how does it work? But I know that like younger kids, they like made a fortune because they don't have it, this whole mentality as we all do, and they just like buy and sell. And yeah, it's like it's a wild west. And regarding education and like blockchain 101, I think what you did is so important because that's what leads us to mass adoption. Because once people are more educated, they understand what it is, that it's not only Bitcoin, there is a whole world behind it, and it's not a scam, it's not like something crazy difficult. It's actually all very digestible and easy. Well, maybe not in every aspect, but like some basics are easy. And I think maybe we should have like more like maybe like learn to earn projects, and that will lead us to mass adoption. Like Coinbase, if you're listening, I doubt, I doubt that they are, but like just like launch some educational course where people can earn some crypto and trade it on Coinbase if they succeed in learning or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
they do have a little bit, but it's individual projects that get listed on Coinbase. They will pay to do a learn and earn, where you'll learn more about that project, and then they'll pay out tokens. But I definitely get what you. They should be more. I agree. Like, it should be, you know, have a budget to where they give. Coinbase will give away some Bitcoin or other tokens as you learn more about wallets and exchanges and the basics. Like, and kind of even gamify it to where more and more people want to. I've always said that, because education is part of it, and then the other part is making the user experience super easy. Um, we think of some wallets, and you've been around just as long, right? So some of these, in the early days, it's very complicated to try to figure out. There wasn't a lot of resources, there wasn't a lot of tools, and you just kind of had to figure it out, or we learned by our own mistakes, right? Like, oops, I set
yeah.
that to the wrong chain. Maybe I shouldn't. I need to make sure I do better next time. But most mass adoption is not going to happen until we fix those user experience issues.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I feel like education, it's like number one thing that we all should focus on, because otherwise we'll stay like this little industry forever.
Right.
And I think like mass adoption is important, and people just don't understand like what exactly we do. That's why they don't get in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Maria, before we wrap up the podcast, I do want to cover. I mentioned early on, right? Interstellar Digital, Web3 Advisory. Can you tell us the difference in what you do at both of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So Interstellar Digital is a PR and marketing company that I started with Kyle White 5 years ago. He's not with the company anymore, but we still do PR, marketing, social media, event planning. We work with QLs, influencers, a lot of them. We just help the projects to get the word out there, and actually, like, we help projects to explain to people what exactly they do. And yeah, we help them to get featured in CoinDesk, Bloomberg, Cointelegraph, you name it. And when it comes to Web3 Advisory, we started this brand with some of my friends and coworkers like 1 or 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And it's mostly for like really early stage projects who are looking for guidance and advisory, and they don't exactly know like what to do in the crypto space, but maybe they have a lot of previous experience in TradFi. Maybe those are like Wall Street guys looking to launch their own, I don't know, trading tool or whatever. And then we can help them, we can guide them, we can advise them and introduce them to people. And yeah, that's what we do. And with Interstellar Digital, we try to work with like more established projects. We have worked with some industry leaders such as Matter Labs, ZK Sync, or Synternet or Propi. They tokenized the first real estate in the US back in 2021,
Mhm.
and they still do it. Then you can get your mortgage on Propi platform leveraging your crypto, so you don't have to cash out. And yeah, so I think that's the spiel, the whole spiel, and yeah.
All right. Can you tell everybody where they can find out more if they want to follow or get more information from both Interstellar and Web3 Advisory?
Yeah, absolutely. Just go to interstellardigital.io or web3advisory.co, and also follow Interstellar Digital on Twitter at interstellardig. And you can follow me on Twitter as well. It's Anariel underscore KA, or on Instagram, it's Anariel KA, no underscore.
All right. I'll make sure to have those in the description of the podcast as well, so you can click on the links if you're listening to the podcast or if you're watching it this on YouTube. It should be in the description. All right, Maria, it's been a pleasure having you on. Definitely enjoyed finding out more about what you do and also getting that deeper dive into your background, your experience, how you ended up working in this industry. So, any final words for our listeners before we wrap up?
Um, I mean, I think we're all gonna make it, and I hope alt season and the bull run is ahead of us. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm bullish too. I don't think the bull market's over. I think we're just getting warmed up, and it's just kind of in that lull right now where everybody's trying to figure out what's going to happen next. So, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks again, Maria, for coming on today. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for having me. Bye.